Flow. It has been 20 years since I lost my innocence. Just yesterday, the country memorialized another anniversary of the Twin Tower tragedy. Thank God I had already entered the flow. Today, I can't recall which came first. The conscious knowing that I love freedom and creative self-expression, or the book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Growing up, doing and making was the way I expressed myself. I loved knitting, stitching, sewing and mending, painting and restoring, braiding a fresh flower wreath, or writing poetry. Creativity was instilled in me by my mother and our German-Italian culture. I looked at the things that I created as a hobby, something cultivated during leisure time, and I thought of myself as a crafter, making beautiful things by hand. At one point, my leisure time became a priority, and my hobbies turned into artistic expressions. I attended workshops at the Art Student League in New York City, met artists, attended exhibits, participated in, and curated my own. For our newly established Visual Artists Guild, I organized monthly meetings and events with contemporary artists. I expressed myself creatively, losing track of time and space. I transitioned from medium to medium. After years of silk painting and working with textiles, I took up collage, edible art, multimedia, and digital media. My soul felt connected to Source. My life was in the flow, which became for me an optimal state of being. It fulfilled me and gave me strength. Sometimes there was a use, a need, or a want for my creations. Sometimes my expressions fell on deaf ears and blind eyes. My eyes were always the beholder of the beauty and the process. I affirmed my expressions. When I'm in the flow, time and space dissolve. Abraham Maslow calls it peak experience. One's capacities are at a peak. One takes pleasure in this heightened potency, also known as rausch or flow. So often I rejoiced in the fantastic and powerful expressions of other artists and their creativity. The strength that came through from their individuality was inspiring. They are a shining light, a missing puzzle piece, authentic human beings expressing themselves creatively. This relates not only to artists, but to anyone that has the courage and privilege to pursue their passions even when it's not convenient. The gardener, my brother the marathon runner, the baker, the sweaty neighbor across the street repaving his walkway and taking pride in his environment. I love watching children in their flow, discovering, exploring, learning, and having fun, even though frustration and failure will inevitably visit. I rejoice. It excites me to see human beings do, build, restore, and create. Creative self-expression inspires me with the belief that humanity can and will shine. It was during this time that I discovered my mission statement. I'm devoted to encouraging creative self-expression, a focused attempt by me to balance destructiveness with creativity, beginning with myself. Life is multifaceted. On the one hand, I loved my life and experienced an empowered state of being. On the other hand, I had many questions. and fear arose when I began seeking answers. It really all started on that fateful day when the Twin Towers fell. Coincidentally, a professional photographers convention had been held in New York City the day before the tragic event. A few weeks later, I went to see their collective photography exhibit on the events of 9/11. It was impressive how the lensmen brilliantly captured the horror from many different angles. One angle was the individual human tragedy. I still vividly remember a businessman sitting like a statue, holding his ash-covered suitcase. A man plummeting after leaping out of a window. People running and screaming. It all looked and felt surreal. Indeed, it was impressive how they each captured the horrific events of that clear blue September morning. This was before the time of cell phone cameras. Then there occurred the mysterious collapse of the World Trade Center 7 in the late afternoon of the same day, unrelated to the Twin Tower attack. I watched it implode on live television a few seconds after its collapse had been announced. There were eyewitness accounts from firefighters, friends and friends of friends, that were not reported on mainstream media channels. Moreover, there was discussion around cashed-in insurance policies and unusual trading moves in the stock market the days prior to the event. There was a tremendous amount of independent research being undertaken by citizens, scientists, journalists, and many other curious people. Numerous speculations, theories, and conspiracy theories were constructed and debated. On the independent radio stations, I listened to multiple points of view, and on YouTube I watched scores of videos related to the events of 9/11. I got to hear and see a lot during many hours of research and musings. I went down many rabbit holes, as one calls it, and I was transported into some troubling revelations and findings. Then there were the implementations put into place in the aftermath, the creation of the Axis of Evil, the Patriot Act, the TSA, and other alphabet agencies that over the years have been humiliating and harassing the general public in the name of safety and security. That and so much more just made me question everything. The bombing of Iraq, Libya, and the circumstances with Egypt, Syria, Afghanistan, and Iran. What is going on? When I questioned some of the above, I was told, "Why don't you go back to where you came from if you don't like it?" It was painful. I lived what felt like a parallel life in a fast-changing world that some call the Matrix and others call the greatest show on earth. It has been expressed that we were born for these times. For me, it is a life stretched between love and fear. I researched and tried to stay current with world events. Hours turned into nights, and I lost track of time. I was in the flow in my parallel universe as well, and I tried to integrate and make sense of a puzzle with 1,000 pieces. Pieces from other puzzles mixed in, missing pieces, nondescript pieces, a personal human journey. Me as one puzzle piece to the whole, the missing piece, the observer and the puzzler. In 2003, I was driving down Long Beach Road listening to Hillary Clinton vote yes to a war with Iraq. I felt crushed. For me, this was not the spirit of woman. I thought that war did not belong to the new millennium. I had placed my hope in women. Then came the Iraq War, Hurricane Katrina, and the 2008 financial crash. In between and since then, life is a continuous horror show, with all sorts of internal and external terrorist acts enacted on the world stage. Along with the Japan earthquake event came Dutch sins, Michael Janich, fracking, weather modifications, chemtrails, Morgellons disease, CERN and HARP, camps, coffins, detainment centers, and the Georgia Guidestones, pedophilia and human enslavement, Bilderberg meetings and world forums, charities, infiltrated movements, information suppression, inoculations and false science, unacceptable intensive animal farming and monocultures. The long list of themes or so-called conspiracy theories made me dwell in fear and sorrow. The for-profit industrial prison complex, all the dealings around money, overprinting money into oblivion, the secret meetings on Jekyll Island to establish the Federal Reserve, and the dropping of the gold standard. They manipulated markets, welfare, taxes, and continuous conflicts and war. Manipulated history, misleading education, genetically modified foods, and the pharmaceutical tyranny and dependencies. I learned about indoctrination, mind control, artificial intelligence, propaganda, lobbyists, and the corruption in politics, right up to the Supreme Court. I investigated maritime and natural law. I studied nutrition and food. I read the United Nations Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is the plan of action to achieve sustainable development that was adopted by world leaders at the UN Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in June 1992. I followed up on the United Nations Agenda for 2030 and the 14th World Forestry Congress Vision for 2050, where on the surface all sounds wonderful and wholesome, like the objective to end world hunger, establish universal respect, and save the environment. However, behind the scenes, more sinister motives seem to be lurking. There are always two sides to a coin. I noticed everything smart popping up around me, from smart meter, smartphone to smart water. I had entered hell on earth. In my mind I saw it, and in my heart I trembled. The entire world had become a stage, where actors play their roles in the high places and entertainment is fed to the masses. I studied history from different perspectives. My curiosity knew no bounds. Architecture, civilizations, metaphysical knowledge, and social behavior. Energy, vibration, frequency, quantum physics, climate change, and energy sources. Bible study, prophecy, code, and conspiracy theories. I'm not alone. There is something of a questioning humanist family out there, working on connecting the dots and each other. It's not that I don't like it here. I love it. I love the idea of freedom. I love the idea of a creative humanity. I love the idea of a young melting pot of humanity. So here I am, standing firmly devoted to encouraging creative self-expression, with the intention to love the world. Imagine the power of the many living a creative life in the flow.